Of a bit of news that's just broke in the last half an hour to 45 minutes, and it wouldn't be a normal football week without something going wrong at Manchester United. And I'll go to Mo first on this, but it's been reported, and I thought we all saw this coming, that Raphael Varane and Erik Ten Hag have had a bust up, and Raphael Varane wants out, and he's likely to leave in January. Thoughts on this, mate?
Do you know what? It's not about Raphael Varane personally. It's now every player that is not gonna get game time and thinks I'm better than this is gonna say, no, I want to go. He's gonna throw a tantrum. Like, I'm not looking at it at Raphael Varane himself. Like, forget about Raphael Varane with the bust up with Erik Ten Hag. Now it's gonna open the door to any player. If Luke Shaw comes back and he's not good enough, he's gonna say, no, I want to go now. Bruno Fernandes, if he falls out of favor, he's gonna say, I want to go now. This is not a healthy environment for anybody at the club. Like, look at Manchester City. If you sit on the bench, like Riyad Mahrez sat on the bench and he was all right. He picked his moment. Now, Raphael Varane, instead of him proving himself again and saying, no, I deserve a spot because, yeah, I'm better than Harry Maguire or whatever, on the pitch, prove it. Instead, he goes to the media or he goes to his friend or he goes to whatever and say, no, I want to go. I'm not happy with the situation. It's just a reflection on how the club is going at the moment, is how the squad is responding to competition. Nobody wants to prove that they're good on the pitch. People just want to play based on names, which is, I think, is not good for the coach, that he cannot make everybody happy. Like Mourinho used to do that at Inter, at Real Madrid. Prove yourself on the pitch, you'll get a starting spot. It's not about your name. It's not about your media. It's not about your friends. It's not about your achievements that you did 2, 3, 4 years ago. It's about you on the pitch. And we have seen Raphael Varane comes on, miss passes, not knowing where to stand. But instead of him, again, it's all about the environment. And I don't want to see this in any club, in my opinion, because it's just disrupting everybody else. Because now it opens the door to everybody else to do the same. I'm not playing. Oh, show me the door. I want to go. I'm going to get a better contract somewhere else. This is unprofessional from Raphael Varane. I didn't expect that from someone who won that many competitions internationally and with Real Madrid. That on the first opportunity that you're not being a starting player, you're throwing a tantrum like a little kid as you're like 16, 18 years old. This is absolutely atrocious. It's like a little kid. You're like, he's not getting the toy. No, I'm not playing anymore. Come on, just be better than this. It's just,
I don't know.
If he wants to be like this, let him go.
Mo, I think you're being a little bit too harsh on him, in my opinion, and not critical enough on Ten Hag. Yeah, this is a 30-year-old French international. You know what I mean? He's done very well in his previous club at Real Madrid, and he's come into Manchester United, an absolute joke of a football club, with a manager that commands no respect for many of the players, and he's been dropped from the Manchester derby for tactical reasons. And now he's got Harry Maguire playing in front of him. I think that you're being way too critical. I'm not a massive fan of Varane, but I think you're being way too critical on Varane. I think this again shows to me that Ten Hag is not managing these players properly. I think it proves to me again that these players do not respect Ten Hag. And I understand why they don't, because he's not really achieved anything in football. And this is, you are right, this is the state of Manchester United right now. Players are not happy. They're not happy. They don't want to be there. They don't want to play for this manager. And anything that goes wrong, the players want to leave. And I completely understand. But I think you're being a little bit too harsh on Varane. I think you've got every right.
Can I ask you something, LB? If he was playing, do you think he would have asked to leave?
No, obviously
flat
not.
out. Thank you. So it's not about respect or not respect for Ten Hag.
No, but that's a silly question, Mo, because this goes back to the point. This is a 30-year-old top-class international player who's been dropped from the Manchester derby for tactical reasons, where Johnny Evans is playing in front of him. That is just completely insulting to Raphael Varane. It's not about whether or not he's playing. It's the circumstances in which he's been dropped. You can't just say if he was playing, would he have asked to leave? Probably wouldn't have. But the fact is he's been dropped for Johnny Evans, a 36-year-old who was playing for Leicester previously.
So do you believe that Ten Hag wants to lose? Do you believe that Ten Hag thinks that Raphael Varane is better than John Evans and Maguire at the moment, and he would drop him? You think that?
Varane is better than Johnny Evans.
What you're saying, what you're saying is that Ten Hag wants to play the worst players. He's choosing to play someone that will lose him the game.
I don't think
and he would put LB. What you're saying is that, because it's tactical reasons or whatever, you're saying that Ten Hag is stubborn, that he's not playing a player that you think is going to win him the game, is going to make him better. That's what you're saying. because 30 years old,
Effectively,
international.
yeah. But I think that's better than saying
Okay.
what you're saying, criticizing the player, because Varane is better than Johnny Evans. That's a fact. He's better than Maguire. That's a fact.
That's what you
And he
think. The
thinks that
manager doesn't think
we know
that
that,
way.
but the question is, why is Varane not starting then?
because I think Ten Hag does. I think Ten Hag's out of his depth, Terry. I think he's out of his depth, and I think he's overcomplicating things, playing Johnny Evans and Maguire over Varane, which is not necessary. Surely there's no United fans out there that thinks that's the correct thing to do. But then you've got Mo saying that this is Varane's fault. He's being unprofessional. The guy's been dropped for Johnny Evans. He's probably looking at Ten Hag going, "What are you doing? Why are you dropping me for? I'm not the cause of this problem." And then, rightly so, the guy deserves to leave. He's just come from Real Madrid. He's not come to Manchester United, sat on the bench for Johnny Evans. What you say?
Sorry, LB, to cut you off. You're doing exactly what Varane is saying. He's exactly thinking like you. I'm a French international. I won the World Cup. I won Champions League. I deserve a starting place based on merit, not based on performances. You're doing exactly what Rafael Varane is thinking. You're actually you think that because you have been playing well before, you deserve automatically a starting spot. You're assuming that Varane at the moment is better than Johnny Evans and Maguire, and you think the manager knows that, and he's starting Johnny Evans and Maguire just to spite Varane or something. There is no reason.
But you can't have it both ways, though.
There is no manager in the world, LB, that would start a player that he thinks is better.
Okay.
Unless there's a personal vendetta there.
Okay, so you can't have it both ways, though. So what's Varane meant to do? Just sit there and watch Johnny Evans and Maguire play every week?
Yeah. When
he's not going to do that, though, he's a top professional. He wants to be playing top-level football. He's got Bayern Munich knocking on the door, Juventus knocking on the door. He's not going to sit there and watch Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans think the gap out.
Can I just say that, do you know what? Let me just jump in a second, mate. Like, I would say that as a United fan, I understand what you're saying. It'll be 100%, and I think in a vacuum, in an isolated circumstance, it makes complete sense. He's a superior player. He's playing behind Johnny Evans and Maguire, and I understand there's an element of embarrassment about that and confusion because he's better. I don't think he can play 2 games a week, but nor can Johnny Evans either. However, the problem is, as a United fan, I can't look at this in isolation. I can't look at it in a vacuum. I have to look at what I've seen other players do under Ten Hag, and then I look at what players have done under previous managers. Rashford, when Ralph Rangnick came in and he was suddenly on the bench, within 2 weeks of being on the bench, all the stories came out, players looking to leave, the players looking to move on. We have seen this time and time again over the past decade because player power rules at Man United. And typically, a lot of the players that say they're going to force a move out end up surviving that manager, start for the new guy, have a resurgence in their form, and end up doing the same thing again. So I understand where you're coming from. It's why I've said recently about this takeover. I think that they're probably going to have to, whether people like it or not, get rid of the manager because relationships are going to be damaged. But they have to stop the player power element. And my view's always been this. I know your club's successful at Man City. So if a player like Jack Grealish, who's won it all at club level now, is sitting on the bench for Doku for a period of time, because you're a successful club, they'll wait a bit longer. They'll be more patient. They'll be more professional because you are winning. But I believe that the reason that you're winning is because player power has never been allowed to be prevalent since your new owners came in 2009. So it's a little bit chicken and egg. I understand you want to treat players with a certain level of respect and you want to give them, you want to treat a World Cup winner like Varane with prestige, and you understand why you don't want to see him dropped for someone like Johnny Evans. But at the same time, what Man United have lost is there hasn't been since Jose Mourinho, since the Glazers refused to sell Pogba and Martial, and the players were backed. The manager has lacked authority at Man United, 110%. And every time a manager challenges a player, especially a big player, for the past 6-7 years, they come out on the losing side. And for me, at some point, something's got to give in the overarching argument. And that's how I look at it as a United fan. I find it really hard to just look at. I knew this was coming, this story, by the way, because I've seen it so many times in the past decade. So what you should right at the start, LB, is 100%. United are a joke of a club with the way we're run. And what we're seeing now with Varane and the manager is just a symptom of all the problems at our club, I feel.
No, you are right. Listen, I'm not advocating players just down tools. The point is, in this unique situation, Rafael Varane is not going to sit there and do what Mo says. He's 30 years old. He's on the decline now. If he's going to have some big clubs after him, or he's going to get a big payday in Saudi Arabia. He's not going to wait for Johnny Evans and Maguire to make mistakes for him to get back in there. If he's got an offer to move in January, he's going to do that. And the fact is, this is happening because Ten Hag does not have the respect of the players. Otherwise, this wouldn't happen over something that happened a couple of weeks ago, and all of a sudden he wants to leave. So that's the point. He's not gonna do what Mo said. He's not gonna sit there and wait. He's 30 years old. He's gonna make the move. But this all stems from the players not respecting Ten Hag, in my opinion.
I listen, I don't disagree with you that he should go. It doesn't matter for me. And it shouldn't matter for any Man United fan. If a player shouldn't be there and doesn't want to be there, he shouldn't be there. My point is, I'm criticizing what he's doing. That is like, instead of him in quiet saying that I want to go and finding a solution, now it's a public information. Now he is going against the manager. He's saying that I want to go. This is unprofessional for me. If you want to go and you're not happy with the situation, you find another club that will pay the money and then you go get your paycheck. It's understandable if you're not happy. But to go public and say this and that, I think this is unprofessional. And it doesn't matter if you're 35, 33, 30. It doesn't matter for me. If Jack Grealish tomorrow is not happy, he wouldn't go to the public and say, I'm not happy. He would find another club and ask the club respectfully to go. This is what I call professional.
I hear you on that, Mo. Like, G, what's your take on this? You know, your club, you know, you haven't really had a lot of these issues for years since you've been successful. Do you understand where the player is coming from being frustrated because he's been dropped for Johnny Evans? Or do you think there's the element here of United have got to take control of these situations?
I think both LB and Mo are both right, though. I think like what they're both saying, that both things can be right in this type of unique situation. Because you are talking about Raphael Varane, you know, we can't ignore the history that he's obviously come to Manchester United with. But then I do side with Mo in that sense of, just because you ain't playing, you know, that doesn't mean that you're going to come out here and start making noise. And, you know, regardless of whether it is Johnny Evans or a 16-year-old who's playing in defense, like if the manager thinks that this guy is performing better than you, works in the tactical setup, you got to sit on the bench and just hold it down. You know what I mean? And you've got to work your way up, because that doesn't bode well for you in the future. If I'm being honest, like clubs can't, another big club, yes, they might look at him because he's Raphael Varane, but then at the same time, they might just be in the same situation when he gets dropped again. And then what happens? Are we going to be, you know, I've just paid all that money for someone like Varane. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I don't really know. To be honest, I'm laughing because I'm just like, why is it Manchester United? Every single week, there is always something about your club. Like if it's not allegations about something, it's the players not wanting to play, leaving, ownership. There is like something just evil going on inside your club that you can't seem to get rid of. You've changed managers, you've tried to sell players, you've gotten new players in, you've tried to potentially do a little, you know, a couple things a bit differently, and everything's the exact same as if this was 5 years ago. It's just like, as you said, it's like carbon copy. I'm just watching the same thing. Oh, you said you knew that this was going to come out. You shouldn't even be, that shouldn't even be a thought process that, oh, I know something's going to come out in a couple of weeks' time that Raphael Varane's going to be angry or whatever. Like, that doesn't make any, this is Manchester United, and all we ever hear, you guys are honestly behaving like a Championship League One type of club in terms of the mentality of things that are going on. Like, I'm actually surprised that you're still able to command this level of respect around the world, because top players can't be looking at Manchester United and saying, you know what, I would love to go down there and, you know, play my football. That can't be the truth. No way.
I couldn't agree with you more. And a lot of United fans get offended by it, but I don't. It's the truth. And you're offended by it because it hurts them. That's the problem here. And I remember when a lot of United fans that love Pogba and love Martial, and I've seen it all through the international break, all the comps of them both being put out again. Oh, we ruined them, guys. And I understand that logic to a degree. But I said the day that it came out that the club sided with the players and didn't get rid of Martial and Pogba. I love both of them, by the way, especially back in 2017, 18. They were really good players. They were, you know, their whole career still in front of them pretty much. And I said to everyone at the time, this is a slippery slope moment. You know what we're speaking about? We won't mention it, but what we're talking about behind the scenes, off camera, it's because you like Pogba and Martial. Some people, a lot of United fans did. You sided with them in the player versus manager argument. But the problem is when you set that precedent, at some point, a manager you like and respect is going to be treated in exactly the same way, and it's going to go wrong. And in this circumstance, a lot of people don't like Ten Hag anymore. They want him out of the football club. So they see these moments and go, great, this is an opportunity to get at the manager because this can help get him out. It'll help give me something I want sooner rather than later. But the problem is you keep setting a standard and you keep setting a precedent that will hurt the club later on down the line, because it becomes part of the culture of the football club. That's why every player that joins us goes backwards. It's why every manager ends up in exactly the same situation. It's putrid. And that's why I find it such a difficult argument to focus on it in a vacuum and as a singularity, because it isn't. It's a 10-year-old pattern all the time. And, this is then going to kick off. It's what the press conferences will be dominated by. It will then put more pressure on Maguire and Johnny Evans. The fans, not all of them, well, then any mistakes happen from then, it goes, oh, you should be playing for it. And how do I know this is what's going to happen? Because I've seen it now for 10 years straight, and I've been talking about it online for 10 years, and I just know what's coming, which is why the new the new part ownership is so important. And one of the most important things they have to eradicate is player power, because it still hasn't gone away. And whether the manager puts an arm around their shoulder like Ollie and tries to be their friend, or tries to be more of a disciplinarian like Jose or Ten Hag, they all end up in the same situation. They say that about relationships. If you're with 5 different women over 15 years and each relationship ends for the exact same reason, the likelihood is the women weren't the problem, it's you. And that's the problem that I have with Man United. So I don't feel any anger towards Varane at all, because he probably doesn't even realize what he's doing is wrong, but he's in an environment where it's normal, and it's just what people do. And he's probably witnessed it himself 4, 5, 6, 7 times and thinks, well, I'm going to do the same thing, because I'll either get what I want and move somewhere else, or the manager will get sacked and I'll get my place back anyway. So what's the point of him having to work hard?
It's annoying. So just to add one last thing, it probably for me points another picture towards Manchester United's transfer policy of when you're getting these stars of buying the Casemiros and the Varanes. These players are, I get what Mo's saying, but these are the best players in the world. They're not coming to compete with other players or whatever. They come in to start week in, week out and get paid. That's what they're there for. It becomes very difficult to drop those sort of players. So I think United also need to look at their transfer policy going forward. Stop buying these players who are upwards of 28, who are sort of being sold by the massive clubs, the Real Madrids, for example, like the Casemiros and the Varanes, because it makes it very, very difficult to drop those players compared to somebody else. Like, I don't know who else.
Standards and behavior, LB. The standards and behavior are so much lower at our club. They come in, they're used to a much higher standard of behavior, culture, attitude. They come in, I think it's a culture shock. And I think it's funny how everybody gets eroded. Every single player gets eroded by the way we behave, no matter how good they are when they come in. Anywhere between 12 to 18 months after they've signed, they go backwards. Look how good Casemiro was last year. I don't believe his legs have just gone over the summer. I don't. Standards are low. Varane, standards are low. Bruno was the only one who lasted a little bit longer when he came in, scoring, creating, gone backwards. Everyone. So that's why I find it hard to hate on the players anymore, because they're just as much a victim of how poorly we're run as the fans are, in my opinion. Yes, they're paid a lot of money and people say they shouldn't behave like this, but it's very, for me, it's easier.